The boundary. The first thing he remembered was the silence. The woods and everything around him was so quiet, almost numb. His head was dizzy, and for a few minutes he could remember nothing. Slowly, he began to remember the walk that afternoon, the ride through the fields, and the fall. He must have tripped on a branch at the edge of the river and fell into the water, banging his head on a rock outcropping on the surface. Although it was summer, the water was still cold, but strangely, he did not feel cold. Not knowing how far the current could have dragged him, he walked, trying to understand where he was. For nearly an hour, he did not meet anyone. Then, finally, there stood a house. It was a small house in Victorian style. 3 children of about 3 years were playing in the yard, while a black cat sleepily watched them. The boy came up smiling and waving at the kids. Keeping the smile on his face, the young man asked if he could use the phone, but the children turned toward him with a strange look. Very strange. At that moment, a voice called them from inside the house. "Guys, come to eat. Dinner is ready." "Dad, there's something here," said one of the children with a low voice. "There is no one here, guys," said the father, looking out the window. "Hurry up and get inside. Come on." Brr, I wonder why this cold came suddenly. And that was the first time the boy understood. Interlude. Despite the heavy coat she wore, the cold she felt did not seem to subside. Her hands were shaking as she dug into the soft earth of the cave, illuminated by the light of the torch she had brought with her. Carefully, she wrapped her letter around the mirror and put them in the old casket. She hurried back to the house as fast as possible, but she felt a sharp pain in her chest, and she collapsed to the ground. She put her hand to her heart and saw it stained with red. What lies beneath? Nothing relaxed Shuhei like the quiet of the woods. One afternoon, like many others, he decided to take a walk in the woods next to the village where he was on a small vacation, and that was when he saw it. A cave with jagged edges that framed a hole filled with darkness. By nature, he was not a brave person, but he ventured inside, almost drawn to something he could not describe. Almost buried under some wet stones, Shuhei found a heavy, rusted chest. With a creak, he opened it, and inside there was a letter that enveloped a small glass mirror that had no back, surrounded by a thin iron frame. The letter that Shuhei found himself reading made his blood run cold. I do not know if those who read this letter will believe me, but what I am about to tell is all true. The mirror that I locked in this box was buried in the garden of the house to which my family and I moved. I used it to look through and realized it is such a precious object that it has no tangible value. It is a key to see what is concealed in the eye. The world is not what we are used to seeing. Among humans, from a long time, demons have taken the place of many humans, and looking at a person through this mirror, it can reveal its true nature. They crave this item because only with it can they be unmasked for what they truly are. These demons cannot live in our world without a physical body, and so they corrupt our souls and devour what we are to take our place. I'm afraid, and I feel they will seek this object, so I hid it here, with my words, in the hope that someone will find it. Here, the cave, where it all began. With a shiver, Shuei jumped up and the mirror almost slipped through his hands. He was about to put it back where he had found it, but at the last moment, he took it. He put the letter in the iron chest and hurried out of the cave, while the last rays of the sun tinged the sky of sunset colors. He wrapped his arms while running into the woods, feeling strange. Once he got home, Shuei needed a few days to recover, and something very strange happened after his return. Bringing along the mirror could not have been a good idea, so he visited a few antique shops, hoping to sell it, since the letter mentioned a great value. But the features of the object were so crude and the metal so ruined that no buyer seemed interested in the purchase. Exasperated, he decided that if he could not sell it, the only solution was to throw it away. Reluctantly, he took the mirror and went out into the backyard to throw it away in the trash. But he still wanted to take at least one look through it. With his heart pounding, he saw that in the driveway, a monster was heading towards him. Interlude. The world of journalism pays its tribute to Sebastian Seraph, whose body was found yesterday. With a sigh, Sharon put down the newspaper and whispered, "To no one in particular. I wish I could help. Shuei." The darkness is cold. The sign "For Sale" enthroned in the garden of the house, scourged by the wind from the lounge window. Sharon watched it with her forehead pressed against the cold glass. On her lap, the cat, Indy, was suddenly restless after a small stretch. He made a graceful leap, trotting out of the forgotten open kitchen window. With a sigh, Sharon followed him to prevent him from getting lost in the woods behind the house. And so she ran after the animal that ran faster than usual, despite her shouting to turn back. They ran at high speed for nearly 20 minutes, and with short breath, Sharon came near a cave where Indy slipped inside. Taking a deep breath, she entered the darkness of the cave, letting her eyes adjust to the darkness. She never liked the dark, but for some reason she did not feel afraid in that place. Something made her feel at home. Surpassing a pile of wet stones, Sharon was about to enter the heart of the cave when she felt a presence behind her that made her turn suddenly. In front of her, she saw Simone, her mother, who died years before. The woman pulled her hand near the girl's face without touching it. With a sad smile, "Do not go any further, my daughter. You've already been in this place, though now you don't have memory of it, but you cannot go back here ever again. Go home. It is not safe for you and for no one else. I have to save your soul before it's too late," said Simone as she passed her hand over the body of her daughter, becoming more and more blurred. Sharon wanted to tell her to stay with her, but her voice broke in her throat. The meow of Indy brought her back to reality. Sharon picked him up and, with heavy feet, she walked toward the exit, fighting that strange feeling that drew her towards the Black Heart. She went back out into the woods, feeling somehow strange and out of place in the midst of all that light. Interlude.
So, Sebastian, you recently completed your series Unsubscribers. What are your future plans?
Asked the journalist, handing the microphone to his interview.
I would like to devote myself to something different now. I've recently read a lot and heard various testimonies about a mysterious cave that I hope to shed some more light on if possible. There is no mystery that cannot be revealed.
An unbreakable bond. The school bus arrived at the Moon Park, bumping into a rough road. The budget for school trips was not high, so the students of Winchester Institute would have to settle for that. Sharon was the first to come out with a hop, eager to try the roller coaster. Jin followed her with a slower walk, and his mind lost in his thoughts. Categorically refusing to ride the more dangerous coasters, Jin ended up separated from the group and sat down on a bench in a quiet corner of the park. Shortly after, he noticed that someone was sitting next to him. He took a while to recognize the person. Rebecca, his childhood friend. The time spent with banal pleasantries such as time has gone, was short, and the two friends talked as if time had never passed. Rebecca wanted to know everything that had happened in Jin's life in the years they had not seen each other. She also asked about his mother, and he recalled the painful memories of when he was informed of the woman's escape, which he did not see ever again. Rebecca was about to open her mouth, but paused, biting her lips. Without realizing it, the sun began to set and the moment of the return was close. Sighing, Jin turned to his friend. Let's try not to wait so much to see each other, okay? Where do you live now, Rebecca? So I can come and see you. The smile of the young girl died, and a dark look fell on her face. You cannot come see me, Jin. I am no more. I've been killed in this carnival, and here I live now, although I cannot consider this a real life. What? Who killed you? Jin asked with shining eyes. I do not know. Someone strangled me, I think. It all happened so quickly, and I did not see the face of my murderer. I did not want to tell you the truth, but I didn't know how I could fool you. I'm sorry, Jin. You don't need to apologize, Rebecca, said the boy, trying in vain to take her hand, which had no substance. I promise that I will find who killed you and free you from this place. Rebecca smiled as a transparent tear streaked her cheek. Thank you, my friend. I will never forget you. And I hope you can. You're the only one who can see me, said Rebecca, while accompanying Jin to the school bus in which his classmates had already taken their place. With a smile, the young boy greeted her, boarding the bus and giving her one last look. Sitting in the back of the bus, with her hand on the window glass, Sharon thought, he's not the only one who can see you, Rebecca. Interlude. That morning, Melissa was late. For a couple of days, her brain did not receive the alarm sound. She dressed at lightning speed and she skipped breakfast in order not to arrive too late for work. Her boss had already scolded her twice for arriving late, and she didn't want a third warning, as if he was always on time, the hypocrite. While opening the door, Kit, her dog, which until then had remained crouched on the carpet, jumped out, eager for his morning walk that his mistress had skipped. Unfortunately, on her door had settled Indy, Sharon's cat, the little girl who lived next door. The cat, at the sight of the dog running fast, let out an annoyed meow and sped away. Sorry, cat, cried Melissa as she turned to the animal on the run as she grabbed her dog. Kit had not done that on purpose. He had placed it in front of her house. At last came the evening. The steam of the bath filled with foam made Melissa relaxed. Expecting a quiet evening, she did not notice the little pink bar of soap that slipped on the floor. At least, not until she slid over and hit her head violently on the edge of the tub. Blood stained her azure bathrobe as the water leaked from the bathtub. In my mind. The flashing red and blue lights illuminated the warm night of that Thursday evening. 2 paramedics came out of the house on the corner muttering, "Yet another wasted trip. If it happens again, I swear that I will never set one foot in this neighborhood." Not far from them, with her arms folded, Sunny stared at the ambulance going away. Her face, despite the concern, was bright as ever, giving off the beauty of yesteryear. She sighed, closing the door and looking worried to Sharon. "Sharon, why did you call the ambulance to say that the neighbor lady was dead?" "Miss Melissa was fine, even though she almost had a heart attack from fright. Her father has committed to work and he's away from home a lot. But you don't have to do these things. Also, because of the friendship I had with your mother, you know I'm here for you," said the woman gently. "Sorry, Sonny," said Sharon in a faint voice. The woman smiled and led her to her room, wishing her good night. Left alone in her room, the girl began to pamper Indy, who had settled on her lap. She choked with sobs, confused by what was going on. "I did not lie. I really saw Miss Melissa dead in the tub, but I don't understand why she's still alive. The same thing happened with that boy I met in the garden of my old house. I remember, well, seeing him, but he died much later. Why? What is happening?" said the girl to herself. The cat stared at her with its eyes illuminated in the darkness of the room. The girl knew she differed from other people. She saw things that her classmates could not even imagine. And sometimes she knew who was dying, but not always at the right time. She jumped to her feet and put her hand to her mouth. What can she do now? How could she say to Sunny she saw her lifeless, with her face horribly disfigured and covered with crimson-stained bandages? Interlude. The flames were running fast on the walls, devouring the white color. The room was getting smaller while the stifling heat and the flames saturated everything. Sunny put her hand to her mouth, coughing several times, aware that soon she would be the victim of the fire. Her eyes filled with her last tears. The Pact. Shuhei's voice trembled and he felt a little uncomfortable talking with the woman before him. Since his return home from the strange cave, he had felt strange. But the meeting of that day had redefined the concept of strangeness. "So that's what you want, right?" asked Shuhei. The woman smiled sadly and nodded. "Yes. Right. Talk to my son at the Institute Winchester. He should know that I love him, and you have to tell him the truth." Almost without realizing it, Shuhei put the mirror in his backpack before going to the Institute. If Simone, the woman who wrote the letter, was right about its value, it would have been better not to part with it. When the students went out of the classroom for lunch break, the woman whispered, "There he is," pointing her finger toward a skinny boy with bright eyes. He had been at the classroom door, undecided what to do. Shuhei approached him and, deciding to break the ice quickly, he spoke. "You are Jin, right? I'm Shuhei, and well, let's say that your mom sends me. She wanted to let you know that she really loves you, and she wanted to tell you she didn't run away from home. because she would never have abandoned you. Unfortunately, someone hurt her, and for that, she was separated from you. Shuhei leaned over to put a hand on the shoulder of the young boy, and at that time, the mirror slid from his backpack. Jin, still incredulous of what he had just heard, picked up the mirror mechanically, intending to give it back to the boy, stammering, It really is my mother? At that moment, a voice made them jump. You're talking about someone I know? Sharon's father, one of the Institute's teacher, approached with a smile. But by the reflection in the mirror in his hand, Jin saw no man, but a monster. Excuse me, sir, I'll be going, said Shuhei, considering his task concluded and recovering the mirror that the child, now trembling, handed him. Before fading away, the woman, who was still shadowed by her hair, whispered to the man, Now you know where the mirror is. Take it, but spare my son, as we had agreed. While Shuhei pulled away, Sharon appeared in the hallway. Her eyes, once full of vitality, today were cold and intense. Sighing, she said, facing the ghost that was about to fade away, Do not worry, Sonny. He keeps his word. My father does not do anything. Almost always. Everything is connected in the intricate threads of fate. Sharon did not know the true circumstances of the death of her mother, killed by her husband after she discovered his demonic nature, thanks to a mirror she had found buried in the garden and that, before dying, she hid in the cave. Not even Rebecca would have thought that having witnessed the murder of Simone would have led her to her own death by the hands of the man. Even Sebastian, the journalist investigating too vehemently about the mysteries of the cave, fell victim of evil, pushed into an icy river in the spring. The demon would not allow the secret of the cave to be revealed. Everyone who entered there came out inevitably changed, able to see the dead, and especially easier to own by demons. The cold hand of death had stretched even to those inadvertently dealing with evil. For years, Sharon did not recognize she had been corrupted by the darkness of a cave demon father since she was little, and she also didn't recognize that besides predicting the death of others, she provoked them unintentionally. But fate spares no one, and the red string of fate always finds its end. Whether a mother anxious to protect the soul of her daughter eventually finding death, one willing to sacrifice another life to protect the one of her only child. A little girl with no faults waiting to be freed from the prison in which her spirit is captive. A man who defied ancient larger forces beyond our understanding. Or an ordinary woman who had angered the little neighbor falling victim to her power. The red string of fate has no end.